every day is just so horrible.
Oh, come on.
You know, you're talking to people about I'm running this on my car. Is this right? Is it wrong? Ask the right person, and that person could help you. Ask the wrong person, and you just told them your whole setup, and they just took it. What is winning? To me, for me, winning a 10,000 win race to me feels bigger than winning a $2,000 win race, because there was more talent there to beat. There was more effort to winning it. It's probably more laps, probably took more time to get the car ready, the whole thing. That's the story that doesn't get told very often.
Ladies and gentlemen, you wanted it, you got it. The place for the untold, real, raw, and juicy stories of dirt track racing. It's Dirt Track Confessions. And now here's your host, Mandy Pouch Mahaney.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dirt Track Confessions. I'm your host, Mandy Pouch Mahaney, and today we have my husband, Mike, joining us. Today's topic, I'm kind of wanted Mike to shine some light on for all of us, because it was not this past year, but the year prior, he won his first Super Dakar Series race and his first Short Track Super Series race. And this isn't just about that, but really essentially winning, because I feel that there's so many different drivers out there and different people that celebrate their wins differently and don't really celebrate. They're quick to win and pack up and go. But for you, I mean, it could be biased because I'm your wife, but I love seeing you win, and I love seeing the emotions and, just your full-on body of celebrating, even if it's just a Friday night win or if it's your Super Dakar Series win. I love it, and I was hoping maybe you can kind of just tell us how you feel, the reasonings behind why you do what you do.
Well, what I heard from you there is, like, I had a friend of ours that told us the other day that he didn't really celebrate winning that much because he just felt like it was part of his job.
Yeah.
My job's to go out there and run up front. So I'm not going to spray champagne and jump up and down about that. But
yeah,
you would think just the topic of this whole podcast is kind of a simple, easy answer of like, well, who the heck doesn't enjoy winning? Yeah. Obviously, you're going to be excited and pumped up because you just won. So that makes me think too, well, what did it take to get there? And that's the story that doesn't get told very often. Last night we were watching indoor racing at the Chili Bowl, and a lot of young kids, a lot of kids running the restricted class and stuff like that are very young, and makes you think back to, why are we racing? Why are we doing this at all? Mm-hmm. And at that age, you could be doing it because it looked like you saw it and it looked like fun. You could be doing it because your parents told you to do it.
Yeah. You
could be doing it because your friend does it, and then you were like, well, my buddy does this. Mom, Dad, can I do this? Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of reasons why you even get into this sport. For me, when I got into it, it was because my dad raced, and I just thought it was so cool watching him. And then when I got older and old enough to help him on the car and to help feel like I made a difference on whether he won or lost, watching him succeed was just so amazing. It just was like, wow, we did this together. And it was so much work, so much time in the shop, and making sure everything was right, because equally and opposite, I could make a mistake and be the reason that he didn't win. Mm-hmm. And just put it, time just thinking like, how should we set up the car? What springs should we be using? How should we cut the tires? How should we be grinding the tires? Is anything that we're actually doing correct?
Yeah.
And then later on, I got into driving myself, and then it's factors of not only how I work on the car, but how I drive the car on the track. Mm-hmm. And then it was how I act off the track to attract sponsors, to attract people to help work on the car because I can't do it all myself. And learning how to teach those people to work on the car, and then going through people that weren't right for me, and then trying to find new people, and then teaching those people how to work well with me and my style of driving, my style of how I want the car prepared. And you could just go down this spiral of like all this stuff that adds up to, you know, it just all adds up to like the whole goal is like we're trying to get to victory lane, right? And it can take you back so far to what all added up to landing in that circle that night. And that's where all the emotion comes from. It's like, wow, finally got something out of all this, because there isn't time to celebrate the 1,000 wins that it took to get to that big win. Mm-hmm. Like the small wins. There's 1,000, 100,000. I don't know how many, you know.
Like you qualified.
No, not even.
Oh,
no.
We're talking like tiny.
Just to qualify, you had to put that bolt into an aluminum thread without stripping it. Mm-hmm. That was a win.
Yep.
The next time you put it in and it stripped and you had to go run and get a helicoil kit to fix the threads, and then you got to vacuum all the shrapnel out of, you know, it just, every little detail that added up to it just is, it's overwhelming, you know. Today, particularly, you grabbed me, you want to do this podcast.
Yes.
I was already overwhelmed about thinking about what I have to do this week. I got to take a motor over here and pick one up. I need to go pick up a trailer.
We also got to take a motor out of a car.
I got to take a car up north and then bring another car down south. I got to get a motor out of that car. I got to take that one to get rebuilt. And I got a new car that needs to be picked up. And
none of that is close by.
It's just like, I don't even know how to organize how I'm going to get to all these places because they're all over the place. Nothing's close driving wise. And then, you know, you just start, it makes you, you know, thinking about all of that stuff and how overwhelming it is. It makes you think about like, well, what do I need to be doing right now? Mm-hmm. You know, I need to be assembling this little thing in it, and it can stop you from being able to do that. Thinking about all of the stuff that you have to do next can just it can just come down on you and like freeze you from being able to do the simplest of tasks.
Yep.
Like we need to, but you just get rolling. Like, okay, we need to jack the car up. We need to put it on jack stands. We need to take the tires off. We need to take the body off. We need to take, you know, and then, you know, we need to, every little step-by-step detail has to get done so that you can go and attempt to qualify.
Seriously.
Like, is this not overwhelming? Like, I'm just, I feel like people are probably listening to this going, like, this is exhausting.
Yeah,
just listening, you know, and it is. It's so, like, every day is just so horrible.
Oh, come on.
It's so it's just draining.
Mm-hmm. It's not just putting 4 tires in the car and showing up at the track for that win.
Yeah, and I think that's what differentiates, like, when you watch other people win. When you see the guy with the pure emotion, it typically correlates to how much effort he had to put in to get there.
Absolutely.
Like, that guy that really celebrates the win is because, like, he's been just busting his ass to get to that point. The guy that's like, well, somehow I just landed in this seat and I showed up and drove the car and
no one,
and I happened to win.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, yeah, I'm here doing my job.
Yep.
But not necessarily. Sometimes I think you could be doing so much work and just kind of get in the zone of yeah, this is my job. I have to do it to get to the next thing. That maybe you don't have time to even celebrate your big wins.
Yeah.
Because you're looking to be.
We gotta go somewhere next.
You're looking to do this.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking to fill this entire trophy room, then your Saturday night win doesn't mean a whole lot to you. It's just another thing on the shelf. You're looking to get to the next thing, the next thing. But I think that it's important to really take some time and enjoy something.
I feel it's humbling to be able to do something like that. It's there's nothing against those that don't celebrate big for a win or whatever it may be, but it's humbling, and it's kind of, in a sense, this is the Mandy part coming out, is it grounds you when there's times when Mike wins and I'm like, Mike, we gotta go. Like, we gotta go home. We gotta get ready for the next race.
Yeah,
but you
come from that background of like there's gonna be another race.
One. Yeah.
And there's going to be another chance to win, and we should be trying to stack these up. And my background is just different than that. Like, when I started, I just wanted to win one race.
Yeah. And
I felt like if I could just get there, I'll feel like I made it.
Yep.
And I'll be celebrating and I'll be happy. But life doesn't work like that. You get to where you win and you turn around and you're like, I'd like to do that again.
Yep.
And then you don't settle on what you thought would make you happy, and what you thought would be the end all be all. And it's hard because there's more to racing than just winning to me.
Of course.
For me, all those little wins of putting the sponsors and the crew and the car owners and the car and assembling the cars and getting them to the track so that you can attempt to qualify, so you can attempt to run up front, and so you can attempt to race for the win. And then practicing driving so that you can be good enough to win.
Yeah. All of that adding up.
All of that, for a long period of where I started, was just to get me to the next car. Like, I'm racing a slingshot. Well, I want to be able to race a micro. So if I win enough slingshot races, I assume that somebody will notice and think, that kid looks like he has talent. Let me put him in something bigger.
Yep.
He's young guy, looks like he works hard, looks like he has the talent. But that also could just lead to nothing.
Yeah.
I always just thought, like, random people were just watching to watching my every move to see, like
scouting in football, right?
Yeah.
When you're in high school.
Yeah. I just assume, like, you go to the racetrack, somebody's gonna find you.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sad to think about, like, when I'm racing at a much higher level from where I started, and I'm so focused on doing that I'm not watching what anybody else is doing. I'm too worried about what I'm doing, trying to
Absolutely.
Again, it's like there's so many small things that I have to put together to try and put together a victory. It just, there's no time for anything else. And meanwhile, when I was younger, I would say that I was always feeling like I'm gonna do something exciting to get people to notice, you know, and eventually, you know, 500 races in, you know, somebody starts to notice.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, somebody somewhere.
You show up enough. Yeah. Consistency.
But it's for different people and different talent levels and where you came from and what you had to go through is going to change the route that it takes to get to where you want to go. There's some kids that might just honestly just run a go-kart and they know the right people and they go straight to NASCAR and the only thing they know is what they learned to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so they drive that car and they do what those people want them to do and they might be successful, might not be. I find that from a fan's perspective, people seem to gravitate towards the guy that like, you know, like had to go through some sort of big challenge to get to the level that they're at.
Yeah.
It is a very common saying, you know, just sitting in the grandstands listening around and be like, oh, that guy, he's only here because his mom and dad paid for him to be here.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And, or, you know, that guy, he's only here because his dad was really successful racing. So, of course, like he got a ride because people are like, oh, maybe the kid's going to be good too.
Yep.
But nobody really knows what goes on in the background. As much as I think you do a great job of covering our races and showing people the behind the scenes, there's still a ton of stuff that I don't let you show.
Yep.
And I don't know what it would take to get myself in the position to not care and want you to show that stuff. Like what keeps me from wanting to show all of the work that goes in? Well, sometimes it can seem counterproductive to take those 100,000 wins, not race wins, but like put the bolt in, right? Wins. And hand that off to the kid that's watching a YouTube video and didn't have to learn it the way I learned it.
Yeah, I get that.
Right? Or, but at the same time,
it's like giving
good for that kid for watching a YouTube video trying to learn.
Yeah,
right. So it's like there's people I want to help, and then there's people that's like I don't even know who's watching this.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. We don't know.
You don't. Which is a big reason I really like that Patreon thing that you started. The majority of people, like high majority of people that are on that, there's no way they're not fans. They're like they're in our corner.
They're true supporters.
Truly, there's a reason that they want to be there.
Shout out to them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing because those people just, you know, they're not there for the wrong reasons. So it just makes me more comfortable with the content that we put out in front of them.
Yep.
Whereas like my arch rival on the racetrack can watch my videos and learn how I drive, what I do to my car, and make it so easy for him to figure out how to beat me, particularly if you're thinking like a one-on-one race.
If they really
These races aren't one-on-one, but like if I start on a pole and he's on the outside pole, it pretty much turns into a one-on-one race. Like we're racing each other in front of everyone else.
Yep.
And vice versa. I have nothing to study that guy by.
No.
Other than
I don't think he has a YouTube channel.
No. So
not many do.
So I have to, say, maybe watch some flow racing reruns and hope that the camera's on the right part of the track to be able to watch it.
Yep.
Whereas like our stuff the camera's always on. It's in the cockpit. It's on the rear bumper, on the front bumper, whatever, to see what's happening. And that's a good explanation that goes farther than just YouTube. You're balancing, like, we can do this and it's helpful to us. It attracts sponsors to us. We can watch I can watch my own footage and see my own mistakes and try to prevent them in the future on myself. But we're also giving stuff away.
Yep.
And then the same can be to network about parts. Like, you're talking to people about I'm running this on my car. Is this right? Is it wrong? Ask the right person, and that person could help you. They could be, you should change this spring and you bolt that thing on, it makes you go faster. Awesome. That's a win. Ask the wrong person and, you just told them your whole setup and they just took it and went out there and
ran with it. Yeah.
Picked up 3/10. And now you got to try to pass that guy.
Yep.
And I guess it's just there's just so many silly little details involved in it. And when it's all said and done, you're just trying to go around in circles faster than another guy.
Yes. But I feel what we started this podcast with was, celebrating the wins. And as much as us having a YouTube channel, having a podcast, sharing more than the average Northeast modified driver does, those are little things that add up that have helped us, get to some wins and find the right people. And I feel too is kudos to those people that do study what we do, because they're taking the time, like you said, they're taking the time to study to help them get to that win. Like, would we have thought 10 years ago we'd be sitting and watching YouTube? Not sitting, but we've talked about, sitting and watching YouTube videos to study tracks we're going to go to. But now it's almost getting to the point you can almost study drivers.
Yeah. It's, where do you stop? What do you focus on? Should we be focusing on, should we be focusing on tires and how we prepare those? Because that's the first thing that touches a racetrack. Seems like it's very important, right? Or maybe, aerodynamics has really, become apparent in the late model world recently, and it's obviously very apparent in like wing sprint cars. Yep. Because without the wing, they're going very fast, right? So, or should you be focusing on your suspension design, and in that, should you be worried about the rod angles, or should you be more focused on the shock holding the car up or down?
Or should be studying
the timing device. Should you be or should you be studying how the cars drive, how people drive on the track?
Yeah.
And
calling people, talking to people.
Let's just go one step further.
Oh,
should I be searching for, a super crew chief that can worry about all this stuff, so I can have time to study the other drivers and just worry about driving?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or let's just go a whole nother direction. And should I be doing this stuff on the car and hiring somebody that's a better driver than me, because I can't worry about all this stuff and drive the car. Right? Yeah. It's where do you draw the line? What do you do? Because if the parts, the pieces, the motors, the chassis, the components, the people don't just drop on your doorstep. To get those parts, you got to call and order them. To get the people, you got to somehow network and find them.
Yeah.
And it's weird having this conversation because I'm a mechanical person, and most of the time I definitely tend to lean towards focusing on the mechanical side of things and less on the networking side.
You're not the talker. I'm the talker.
Before we sat down to have this podcast, I was like, all right, how long is this going to take?
Yep.
So we can get back to the things that actually make the car go fast.
Correct.
But at the same time, maybe I do this podcast and somebody happens to watch it, and that guy is just incredible at working on cars, and he's like, you know what? I like this guy. Maybe I want to work with him.
Great. Call us.
Right?
Facebook messages. Email us.
So
Show up at our doorstep.
man,
Thank you.
It's just hard because I really, and then explaining this and I think this is real, and I think a lot of drivers, the more they race, not just drivers, just people that race,
Yeah.
people that are involved in racing and in the competitive part of it, not fans, but like the people that are in the pits, all working towards their team to win a race. I think they think about all this stuff. They don't necessarily think about all of it, but there's probably a lot of stuff that I have not thought about.
Yep.
And there's stuff that, like you seem to focus more on the networking side,
I got that. You work on the
the
racetrack.
social side. But again, maybe me being thinking too much is scaring away the people that I need to help me too, because oh man, this guy's like really overthinking the whole thing. but as soon as somebody comes in that is really good, and I know is like, well, man, this guy's better at working on the car than me.
Yep.
I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. I mean, I've had times in my career where that's the case. Like a particular one that stands out is Doug Emery. I drove sprint cars. Doug Emery, he did the car. I watched the racetrack. I drove the car.
We showed out.
That
was great.
I didn't overthink anything about tires, torsion bars, motors, nothing. Now, we had great conversations about what I felt on the racetrack and what particularly could be improved to help us succeed. But I never had to be the one to call the part and order the parts on Monday morning.
Yeah.
I never had to be the guy to haul the engine to the engine guy builder to get it rebuilt and to wash it so that, the guy's not like, man, this thing's filthy. Kind of customer is this?
Yep.
It's just stupid little details that you're thinking about. And that kid, back to the kid that won the restricted class at the Chili Bowl this past weekend, is not thinking about any of that.
No.
He's just driving the car.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because his dad knows that, like, man, the kid's a little young to be worrying about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But I do want to get him in the seat, and I do want to get him some seat time, some experience, so that he can figure that stuff out later. You want to get into kids and like what's the best approach?
Yeah.
Should you get him into working on the car, or should you get him in the seat? Should you?
It's hard.
And I think this whole thing started with what it feels like to win big races, right? So, what is winning to me? For me, and it might not be the same for everyone else. It's, man, I went through a lot to be standing on this roof right now.
Yes.
And that is enough to make you want to cry. Because it's like, holy cow, I really, I put in every hour. I worked as hard as I could. I left it all on the floor. Like when I used to play basketball, it was like, you got to leave it all on the floor.
Yep.
It's never, you shouldn't feel like after the game, like, man, if I put in a little bit more effort, maybe I could have won. And when you do that and then you win, it's just, it's an overwhelming emotional experience.
So I guess what we'll close with is for those people young, older, doesn't matter the age or gender, but for that racer that is still working towards their first win or working towards that first, monumental, like I know your high priority bucket list is the Fulton 200. I mean, we haven't gotten that done yet. It's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet. But for other people out there that are like, I just want to win my first race, and they've been going and going and going, what can you tell them? Just a piece of advice.
It could be one more small win away from that big win.
Yep.
And I don't mean that. I think most people would say it's like, well, win at your local track, and then you'll get to the series wins later or whatever. It's more about every time you fail, you learn.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Right?
Yes.
So every time something doesn't go together right, something doesn't fit, just all those small, stupid things that frustrate you, you learn. And you learn how to
not do it again.
Yeah. Or how to do it better.
Yes.
And hopefully right around the corner, or, you tried running a different line and you got passed. Well, you learned, right? You shouldn't have done that. I got passed. Or you tried running a different line and you hit the wall. Well, you got a lot of work to do to fix it, but you're learning that maybe if I'm going to go in that hot on the top, I better be lined right up on the cushion or it's not going to hold me. There's so much. I don't even know where to start. You need a specific question to be able to get that answer, but just you have to have the belief that there's something you're going after and you have to have it. And
be hungry for it. You really have to be hungry for it. For all this work.
I think it's a common thing in advertising to the fans, like, oh, this race is 10,000 to win. Well, I didn't come here for 10 grand. I came here because winning a 10,000 win race to me feels bigger than winning a $2,000 win race. Right. And regardless of how much money I take home, it feels like a bigger accomplishment. Because there was more talent there to beat. There was more effort to winning it. It's probably more laps, probably took more time to get the car ready. The whole thing it just is a bigger deal. And those ones that you haven't got yet, they just eat at you until it happens. And that's why what'll happen after you win it is you'll just think about, well, what do I do next? So you have to take some time and celebrate. Like you can't skip that, because it's not like you're going to be like, well, we won. We got another race tomorrow, so let's go home and get a good night's rest and work on the car and get ready for the next race because, we got this next one to win. Well, it isn't like you're going to go back a month from now and have a big party about that one win you had.
No.
It never happens.
No, it doesn't. No.
So
Live
as
in the
much as
moment.
I think there's people that are looking at like, I want to win 30 races this year. So they're going to celebrate at the end of the season about the fact that they won 30 races or they or sulk that they didn't.
Yep.
But if your whole thing was that I want to win the Fulton 200, well, you damn well better celebrate the night you won.
No, we're celebrating the whole
because
weekend.
it's not like you're going to celebrate 6 months from now.
No. Right.
But maybe you could.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Again, everyone's different, but I think the whole Cliff Notes version of this podcast episode I'm picking up is it's celebrating the small wins. Even if they're failures, you're still learning something from it to either improve or not do again, and those will add up. Each one, small win after win after win, adds up to that big monumental, like, holy crap, I finally did it. We got the win.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. I mean, I think from your perspective, it's probably a little bit different because no, it's not. Is it? I don't know. Give me what you think.
My perspective is, well, growing up with my dad, I mean, 700 plus wins is a lot. And when I was younger, we would celebrate. My dad always enjoyed, like you, hanging out at the races, seeing the fans, hanging out with them. But as he got, older and started slowing down, the wins were a little bit farther and few in between. So I get emotional just talking about that. And it made it more special.
Because it was harder.
Special. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy because you just think like the more you do this and the more you learn that it's just going to keep getting easier and easier and easier to win.
Well, it's like we get older, we learn, and then we all eventually hit the peak, and then there's the downfall. And that could be a whole other topic.
But it relates to this one because you're working to gain the knowledge to be able to win, right? This is where I firmly believe that it's about knowing how to do it. Mm-hmm. It's not as simple as everybody can guess or think. That it's just so many things that you have to learn to have the knowledge to be able to do it. And you can spend your whole life learning it the hard way, and by the time you get good at it, you're not as athletic in the seat as you used to be.
Things have changed.
However, that person is so valuable to be able to create shortcuts for a young person to be able to get good quick.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's where, the generations, the second generation, third generation driver has such a huge advantage, but at the same time, it's not handed to them. It's Correct. Like you're giving them the information, but you still have to process it, learn it, grow through it, make your own mistakes, and just because someone, even someone like your dad won over 700 races, and you feel like, man, this guy, he's going to have every bit of information that I need to know to win, to be able to do the same exact thing. Your brother and me drive differently. And it just seems like there isn't a perfect way to recreate that. Like it has to be formed. Like, can we learn from him? A ton.
Yep.
But it kind of has to like be reformatted
to fit you.
To fit. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that takes thought, time, effort to be able to do that. But at least one thing you do know is that he genuinely wants us to be successful. Yeah. It's not like you're looking to him like, man, I hope he's giving me information that's real.
Yes.
He definitely wants us to be successful. So there's other people you could reach out to, and who knows if they're trying to help you or hurt you. Maybe they would rather have this other kid win than just giving you misinformation.
Absolutely.
Right?
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. So it's good to have someone with the experience to lean on. Mm-hmm. And I certainly was fortunate to have my dad, and he had been through so much before I ever sat foot in a car. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the first things I ever did in a race car was break my hand. It wasn't a race car, it was a go-kart. Flipped it over, roll cage landed on my hand. Thing was like blown up like a balloon.
Yeah.
And that was that a win? No. But in a way, I learned, man, imagine if I didn't wear arm restraints in a sprint car.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I flipped about 25 feet in the air down the end of the backstretch at Canandaigua. Can you imagine if like lost an arm?
Mm-hmm.
So at least it happened in the go-kart.
Yeah, Yes.
So even that's an example of like even something that seems like it's a bad thing. It was a bad thing. It wasn't.
You have to learn it your own way.
It still feels weird when it's cold outside.
Yeah,
but,
I'm sure.
But it reminds you, like, don't be stupid. You know, wear the safety equipment.
Yeah, you can study and learn and hear from so many other people, but until you do it yourself, it's the learning how to ride a bike. You have to start with training wheels. You have to fall a couple times, and that's the same thing with racing and anything in life.
Yeah, you have to fail forward, and unfortunately, they're not one-on-one races. So you're just gonna lose more than you win. There's
the percentage,
too much competition. If you're winning more than 50% of your races, you need to move up a class.
Amen.
Right? Because I mean, it's you versus 28 guys that qualified, and then there was like another group that didn't even make the show. It's hard to believe that anybody's gonna win more than they lose.
It's the big fish in a small pond. It's like, imagine if I just thought of it. The percentage thing is like, imagine if Michael Jordan never, like, if he just stayed into, I don't know, basketball guys, like the lower class, and he just kicked everyone's butts. Like they said, his percentage, don't laugh at me.
You never moved to the NBA.
Thank you. His percentage of how many shots he missed versus how many he got was immense. Like his misses were so much bigger than his wins. And that's what, like, same thing with.
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing. Like shot percentage in the NBA, it's hard to be 50%.
Yes.
Very hard, but you strive towards that, and you learn to believe that you're gonna do that, even though it's impossible.
Yeah.
You have to believe that you're going to do it, or else you're not even gonna shoot 25%.
Yeah, it's all mindset.
Right.
Yeah.
So you gotta almost like have goals higher than what are even reachable, and then somehow be so egotistical that you believe in yourself so much that you're gonna achieve things that are not even possible.
Which is hard for many people. I mean, this is okay. We're ending here because we can go. This could be a spinoff of another podcast, because there is so much we can cover on this.
We were sitting down earlier trying to come up with what do we want to do this podcast on. So
here we are.
By doing this podcast, we came up with some other topics right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a small win.
It's a win. It's a win.
And we can take that to the bank.
Yes.
But you can't cash it.
No. Not until you guys watch this. Thanks. So, oh my gosh, thank you, Mike, for doing this. But thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoy this. If you did, like it, share it on your social media, tag us if you do, and just share this with everyone, because sharing it helps us, and us by doing that helps you. So if you enjoyed it, comment, let us know if there's any more topics you'd like us to talk about. But in the meantime, thank you all. Get out there and just keep working at it.
Don't give up.
You got it. See you guys.
See ya.